Good afternoon, everybody. It's time, so I'll start the meeting. Before I go to apologies for absence, just a couple of words about why we're here. This is a special meeting because the items on the agenda tonight need to be progressed because they both have a significant timescale for implementation, and we needed to keep that moving forward at pace. And of course, one of them, I think, will definitely go to full council. And if we didn't do it tonight, it would then be delayed until the autumn, and that would delay the programme because there's a lot of work would have to go. So there's a little bit of overlap, but it's all managed within the recommendations. A reminder that we are, although we're not being seen live, it is being recorded. And we have been discussing the speed at which this can be rectified, and I know that's in hand. Welcome back to all those who've been on holiday. Aren't you lucky? I don't know what they are really. So apologies for absence. I don't think there are any. No. And because it's a special meeting, we don't need minutes per se tonight. So it's declarations of interest. Anyone got any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. So we'll now move on to the housing contract paper. I will formally move the recommendations now and invite Steve, who's assistant to me in my portfolio role for housing, to second it. And perhaps if you could just reserve your right to speak, I will then ask Michelle to introduce the paper, which is technical. So I formally moved the recommendations. Steve, if you'd like to formally second it.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I second it. Very good report, and thank you, Michelle and Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You've got right to come back and speak.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, Michelle, over to you.
Thank you. So what we have in front of us this evening is an overview of the proposed approach to reprocuring the housing repairs and planned maintenance contracts. So this will cover housing repairs, voids and planned maintenance, particularly for things like kitchens and bathrooms. Two different areas and contracts, and the reasons for reprocuring are slightly different. One, for the planned maintenance programme is coming to a natural end, and it's the right time to reprocure that particular contract. And for our voids and repairs, we have taken the decision to terminate that contract early, something we've done by mutual agreement with the provider, so that we can develop a service that meets the needs and requirements of our customers into the future, reflects a better approach in terms of customer experience and customer journey, something that we've heard loud and clear through feedback from our tenants, and also that responds to lots of the changes that we've had around legislation, regulatory requirements, and a need to do things slightly differently, which mean that our contract no longer offers value for money. Clearly, getting value for money for our tenants and as a council is a duty upon us and the right thing to do. So at the moment, we are preparing to launch a tender for that contract, which we will do in different lots, so we could make sure we really test the market and get the best services for the future for this council, for our tenants. We would hope to have those services up and running by the 1st of April 2026. So that's a key reason for coming to you this evening, so that we can get that process underway. We have been working with our tenants, so to understand from them what does a good service look like, and that's a really important requirement. So this service needs to look and feel how our tenants would expect it to. So we've worked with our tenant engagement group, and we've also worked with the tenants who sit on our landlord assurance board, and that's been really helpful, not just in designing the specification and the scope of service, but understanding how we should evaluate the responses that we get from prospective bidders. One of the key things that we're keen to do, and the reason for bringing this report this evening, is to ask as a cabinet for you to endorse a set of principles. So the principles are set out in the report at section 5.2, and they are things that set out the key themes that will form the specification for the tender process, the things that we're looking for, and some key principles there that allow us to make sure that the new contract is fit for purpose and meets our needs in the future. So there are a number of those, and you'll see that they include key things around customer journey, communication, complaints, quality, and also then some of the things around not just payment terms and the specification and the type of contract, but really extracting as much as we can in terms of social value, which is embedded in all of our contracts and something we think we could do more to really get some outcomes for our communities. So subject to your approval this evening, we would commence that procurement process by the end of this month, and then having evaluated the tenders that come back to us, we would then come back to you formally with a recommendation to award a contract or contracts, depending on what comes back from the market. Thank you.
Cheryl, and that, of course, it must be said that we will continue with our vigilance on the current contract and current activities. Steve, would you want to come in with a couple of your points?
I'm fine, Chair. Michelle's covered it, and I'm okay with that. Thank you very much.
I've got two questions. When it goes out to tender, can locals apply for these contracts?
If I can just hand to Chris, you can just cover the approach that we're taking in terms of the procurement route. Thank you.
So yeah, so the procurement route we're using is an open tender, which means that anybody can express an interest and bid. The other thing that we've done to try and make it more accessible to smaller or local contractors is break the different contracts down into smaller lots. So if a small contractor locally had the ability to deliver our voids contract, they could bid for that element of the work on its own, in the same way as perhaps they're a specialist in bathroom or kitchen installations, they could bid for that piece of work. So it means that smaller contractors that perhaps couldn't cover the full range of work can bid for a smaller part of the overall package.
Please, Sharon, carry on.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because I think if our local contractors get involved, they'd be a bit more passionate and and care about it a bit more. And then obviously we're employing in our local area as well, and then they spend in our area, so that's a good knock-on effect. Also, will we add into that about it not being a fixed price on voids? Because I know at the minute we pay a set amount for each void, and then if it doesn't need that much work doing, we're overpaying for the work that needs doing.
Yeah, so that's one of the key changes. So at the moment we pay per property or we pay per void, and that can work in our favour or it can work against us. And when we did the value for money review, we were finding that actually there are so many things being excluded from those works that we ended up paying a fixed fee and then some additionalities as well. So instead we would be moving to paying for the works that are completed, which we feel represents much better value for money, and we can then monitor and track in real time the works that are undertaken. So that's one of the key drivers for the change of contract.
Thank you. Anybody else got any questions or points to make? Yes, please, Margaret.
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad to see that the various areas are broken down into smaller chunks, which gives a sort of a wider sort of base of suppliers that you can draw in. I think that's really good. And I'm aware there've been sort of problems in the past. I think we've all experienced various complaints. Not everybody is unhappy, but we have had complaints, and now we are addressing the situation. We want best service for our tenants and best value for money. So I'm fully behind this paper tonight and fully support everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing from you, Sarah, tonight on this one? Okay, well, I'll just close by a couple of points from me. At the recommendation at 2.3, where it refers to myself, you can take it that I'll be keeping in contact with Steve on that as well, as a sort of a team effort, not just me. The other thing I wanted to re-emphasise is that we are indebted to the members of the landlord assurance group, the four tenants who participate in discussions with us for coming up with ideas, being constructively critical, and really putting that they've contributed to this paper in a meaningful way, as have other tenants through your voice, your choice. I don't think I need to add any more officers about that, but it's been a really good team effort, and I'm delighted with all the work that's been done by the officers. A lot of hard work, because it's not just done in a couple of hours. There's a lot of research goes into it, and it's interdepartmental as well. So, sorry, Sharon, did you want to say something else? Yeah, please do.
How are our locals going to know that they can actually apply for this contract in certain ways?
Okay, so I'll hand to you in a moment, Chris, around the how we advertised opportunities. But one of the things that we have drafted today is some information for our website, which tells tenants what's happening. And I'll be very happy to go back and just add onto that how local contractors and suppliers can find out more information. But if I can hand to Chris, you'll be able to confirm the routes to do that. Thank you.
So I think it's set out in the paper in terms of the date that we did it, but we recently published a procurement notice that notifies contractors generally of our intention to go out to tender. So contractors that are signed up to see that it's a nationally recognised way of doing things, they can see that we're intending to do that. And then at the point where they can express an interest, at the point where we go out to tender, they will then be notified again of that going out to tender, and that it's now ready for them to submit bids, basically.
It just occurs to me that it might be worthwhile if we can add something to that, because not necessarily some very small contractors might not be fully aware of that process. So I'll put my thinking cap on and see if we can do a bit more on that. I know we've got a press release tomorrow. We might add it a bit in, alluding to the date. I think, by which, I mean, we don't want people banging on the door on Monday. So yeah, I've got some tools here. Can I do such and such? But I take the point, Sharon. It's important that people know what's going on, not just those who've got the resources to be looking for this. So I shall move to a vote. All those in favour of the recommendations, please show. None against. That's carried. Thank you very much. I guess Chris can go now, can he? And anybody else who's not relevant to this next item, if need be. Thanks, Chris, and well done. So we now move on to item 4, which is the reinstatement of Melton Country Park Bridge. I just want to say a couple of things on this myself. The country park itself is one of those great assets to our community, and I think there are many hundreds, if not thousands, of people who've used the park over the years. And I know for myself that using that bridge in particular is quite a convenient route round the park. Without it being able to cross at that point, it would put you at a disadvantage, particularly if you've got little children. Believe me. So I'm delighted that we're seizing the opportunity. Now, I can just remind members that when we agreed to forego one element of our own allowances to put into community use, we did at one point think we might have enough money to put that into the bridge. But we discussed it and we decided, no, we'll reserve that pot for other worthwhile community activities, and we'll be considering those in a couple of weeks' time now that we've assembled that. So we've had to deal with the package on the bridge, and I'm grateful to our previous member, Pat Cumbers, for pointing out that when we were discussing it previously, that it really was down to us to get it repaired and as soon as possible. I know there's a lot of discussion about whether we have to do it as much as we appears to be having to do it, but it's worthwhile remembering, I think, that the EA is an important agency in this. They demand certain things because it's a flood route. It's a main flood route, and the way things are going, flooding's going to get worse, not better. It may be intermittent, but it will happen. So we've really got to, I was going to say man up, but you know what I mean. We've got to think for the future, not just for the short term. And I hope that we can consider the paper in that context. And I want to say thank you to the officers for the enormous amount of work they put into it. Do you want to say a few words first, Margaret? Or are you going to ask Lydia to Michelle. So I never quite know who. Yes, of course it is. Well, they're two sides of the same coin, really. They keep the show on the road. Sorry, Ed. You do a bit as well, I know. Yeah. Well, go on then, Michelle. You go first. Oh, you're going first.
You want me to go first? Okay, yeah.
All right.
Well, where do I start? So as we all know, part of the country bridge was swept away and damaged during the storm in January. The reinstatement of the bridge is essential. It's a key part of the country park, which, as you know, is an important local rural green space, much used and loved by local residents, visitors and tourists alike. This is just the start of the investment in the country park by this administration. We have a master plan for the country park which will be coming shortly, so watch this space. We are committed to improving and maintaining our green spaces as they are so important for health and well-being of our communities, whilst providing areas of wildlife plus ecology and biodiversity benefits. This is a huge investment. Unfortunately, some on social media have questioned why rebuild the whole bridge? Why is it so expensive? The answer is in the report, but put more simply, we want to ensure the whole bridge is fit for purpose, safe and will last. Just patching it up is not acceptable, as the remainder of the bridge has some structural risks due to age, wear and tear, plus the timber elements are generally in a poor condition. We want to ensure value for money. There's no point in ignoring the state of the remaining part of the bridge, then have to do another repair in a few years' time. That's not value for money. It would be an expensive bodge-up job costing more in the long term. Item 4.11 on your report identifies the rationale for replacing the whole bridge. This to me makes good sense and will ensure the longevity of the bridge and will help reduce its vulnerability to weather events. The last thing we want to see is to spend money on replacing the damaged portion to then see the bridge damaged again should another weather event happen. This is not best for MBC or community it serves. As you will see, the report includes estimated costs for the bridge and how we intend to fund the remaining balance after deducting the insurance contribution. This includes provisional amounts for unknown costs. We want to get on with the job of replacement, hence this is why I'm before Cabinet today. I believe the replacement of the bridge clearly demonstrates how much of a priority the country park is to all of us and our commitment to those communities who use the country park. I'm happy to propose the recommendations at 2.1 to 2.6.
Thank you, Margaret. I'll formally second that. So it's on the table, so to speak. Michelle, you're going to carry on, are you? Thank you.
Thank you. So just wanted to make sure that we could offer some sort of the facts to support the report this evening and in response to some of the comments that we've seen online. I just wanted to make sure that we draw those out in addition to the introduction from Councillor Glancy. The first one is around the insurance approach for the council. So we routinely revalue our assets to make sure that they're insured appropriately. That this council's had a really strong, robust approach to that, as was seen in the fire right back to 2008, and that remains the case now. We've worked really closely with our insurers. They have worked with specialists and structural surveyors to make sure that the bridge has been properly assessed, and they've come back to us with really clear advice to help us to then make our own decisions regarding the repair of the wider bridge. So we've taken our time to work through that sequentially, but that's been done with the experts involved from the outset. One of the key things you'll see within the report is that we have had the offer of £80,000 from the insurance company. That's not insignificant. That's a big chunk of the money there, and that responds to the damaged sections. So the insurance can only cover the section that was displaced by the flooding. The remainder of the bridge remains our responsibility. And one of the things we've done is assess what the ongoing maintenance requirements would be if we didn't do the wider repair, and that would be a big draw on our environmental maintenance team, and ultimately would lead to the need to carry out a full reinstatement in time anyway. The other thing that has been done is because our insurers have worked with with structural surveyors. They have been able to work with the market around the experts to help us here. So we have trust and confidence in the procurement route that they followed in seeking those experts, and that gives us confidence that as we make our own decisions, we can rely on the expertise in place. We have drawn out in the report that one of the steps required is to seek approval from the EA, and that is because we will need a permit, or our contractors will need a permit to work over the water. That can take some time. That can take a period of 3 to 4 months to secure, but that can be done concurrently with some of the site investigation works, so which will commence subject to approval. What I can say, and hopefully to give you some reassurance of the progress and pace in happening in the background, we have colleagues meeting with the Environment Agency on site on Friday, so we should have a much better understanding then of the time and the requirements upon us and any contractors to get that piece of work moving. And clearly they will recognise the significance of reinstating that as a walkway through the country park. We'll continue to work with our insurers. We currently have got people going through the quotations line by line to make sure that they represent value for money, and to make sure we can be really clear about the contribution from our insurers and then the residual amount from us. So all of that is being done in an awful lot of detail before we settle on the procurement route to get the work done. We'll make sure that we continue to communicate through social media and obviously through yourselves as members of work as work commences and then progresses. And I know that we'll all be delighted to see the bridge reinstated for users of the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before opening up to other members, I don't know if an officer wants to comment on this, but it's worth just stating that most of this we're noting now, a bit of it has got to go to full council because of the size of the expenditure and the impact on the capital programme. So we're constitutionally bound to do that, which is fine. But it's worthwhile saying now that, of course, one of the reasons why we're confident in taking it to council is that we've done really well in managing our money and paying money into reserves. So we're not doing it from a position of weakness. We're doing it from a position of strength. The figures are at the top end. We don't expect them to be but inflate further. Okay, having said that, open it up for discussion.
Right, it's really good to hear what Margaret and yourself has said. So that answers a lot of questions to the public, because obviously it's been quite an ongoing conversation with them. Have we already procured this out to somebody to do it? And if not, will it be again open to locals? Obviously they need experience in that type of work, but
so this is a slightly different situation in that if we were to not be looking to reinstate the wider bridge, our insurance company would just deal with contractors directly. We wouldn't have any direct involvement in that. What we have done is secure guidance from our procurement colleagues that says, well, the survey's been done on behalf of our insurers. We have trust and confidence in them. Therefore, and it has been difficult to find the specialist contractors anyway through that route, we would be satisfied that they had identified appropriate contractors to undertake the work. What we have not yet done is finalise our position in terms of how we will procure that work, or indeed if we will work with the contractors already identified by our insurers. And one of the recommendations at 2.6 asks for a delegation to allow for me to finalise that, working with Clive from a legal perspective. If we were to start again with new surveys, new procurement from scratch, there is an additional cost and time. So we will be making those judgments as we go. So at this moment in time, our preference is to utilise the work that's already been carried out. So this is less likely to go out to the open market than the previous report.
It's covered in.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make that clear to the public so we don't go over it again and again.
Thank you. Anybody got anything else to say or ask? Again, it's a really significant piece of work by officers working at pace, and I have to say at my request to get on with it a bit quicker, because it did look as though it's going to be a bit more protracted. So I'm very grateful to everyone for putting their shoulders to the wheel on that. That's really helpful for all of us. And it's pity we can't do it quicker, but we've got to go through the due process, because people's lives are at stake here. You can't just throw a bridge across a river. much as I'd like to. Okay, so I will now, it's been moved and seconded. If there's nothing else, we'll move to a vote. All those in favour, please show. None against, that's carried. So I declare the meeting closed. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
This is going off the record. Sorry.
Hang on.